Hi, everybody. Welcome back. We are continuing on with our understanding of dietary energy. So, in our last lecture, we were discussing how our body processes both short-term processes and stores both short-term energy and long-term energy. Um, but how does that equate to actually burning excess calories? So, our body only burns fats, these long-term storage units after it has used up all the food in the bloodstream that is stored in glycogen. So first has to deplete the sugar that is these glycogen molecules that are stored in muscle tissue and in the liver before it starts to use the energy in these long-term uh, storage storage in the fat cells. Um, so again, sort of thinking through this idea of understanding what is actually happening in the body when we talk about burning calories. Oh no, sorry. So from the previous lectures, we know that every type of macromolecule stores a different amount of energy, and that those rates vary depending on what type of macromolecule it is. Um, and then the secondary process of understanding storage is more energy taken in than is needed is then stored in in fat cells. So a clever metaphor that your book uses to sort of understand this idea of extracting energy from food is through money conversion. So, for example, if we have gold bars, which in this case is what we're going to say is food, you're able to extract essentially or convert these gold bars into money. And so in this case, dietary food is then going to be stored in these powerful energy containments called ATP, and we're going to be coming back to this molecule a lot in this lecture. So adenosine triphosphate is a nucleotide that stores chemical energy within these phosphate bonds. And this is where and ATP is the primary energy source or money that then the cells are able to extract and power cell functions. In this case, we use money to make a purchase. And similarly, we're using this energy to purchase, we're using this molecule to purchase then energy. So again, very important molecule that we're going to be coming back to a lot in this lecture is understanding adenosine triphosphate, or ATP. So let's look a little bit closer at this powerful molecule. We have first this adenine group, then we have a ribose group, the simple sugar, and then we have these three phosphate groups. And this is where really the energy is stored. And when these phosphate bonds are broken, we get an energy release, and that is what we use then for metabolism. So really, ATP is what the cell uses in order to do any sort of work or processing. So let's zoom back out and sort of understand ATP in terms of extracting energy from food. So first, through digestion, which we talked about in our previous lecture, our bodies break up these food macromolecules into their smaller subunits. So taking those carbohydrates, proteins, and lipids, breaking them down into their smaller subunits. And then those subunits enter the bloodstream, and this is where they're carried to the body's cells. So again, this is where we started with our food. It's broken down into carbohydrates, proteins, fats, and nucleic acids, which then the body processes into these smaller units that can then be carried to different areas through the bloodstream. So now that these have been carried down through the bloodstream, the enzymes break the bonds holding subunits together, and that potential energy that is stored in that bonds, the ability to do work that is stored within these bonds, is captured and converted um, into molecular bonds that then make up this ATP. So again, creating these bonds, and this is an important enzyme that we're going to go into a little bit later called ATP synthase, that again creates these adenosine triphosphates that then allow our body to do work by breaking, again, this phosphate bond. And that process, so now that we're talking about these subunits that are flowing through the blood, we're going to talk specifically how then the eukaryotes produce ATP. And it's primarily through this process called aerobic respiration. Aerobic meaning air. So keep in mind that that's very important for this process. And we're going to be sort of spending a lot of time going through this image, but for right now, I want you just to sort of understand that this is a process by which, so again, we're to sort of zoom back out and talk about where we are in the process of the body extracting energy from food. We now have these simple sugars and subunits that are available to the cell in the blood vessel. So again, we have this very simple sugar, glucose, so that's going to be very important to this overall interaction. And then we also have oxygen. So again, aerobic, requiring oxygen. So we get oxygen from the lungs, and then we're able to use these inputs to then get these primary outputs of energy in the form of ATP, carbon dioxide, and water. And we're going to be spending sort of our next couple lectures understanding this cycle very intimately. But for now, just understand that we have these inputs that we got through both breathing in, again, the aerobic respiration, and then these simple sugars, glucose, that are, again, traveling through the blood cell from our process of digestion of food and other compounds. So we'll pick up there. We'll pick up with this next time, where we're going to really be spending a lot of time understanding aerobic respiration. Okay, see you soon.